got power amenities and the equalizer stereo. Just a smaller motor.
So the rear on this, god damn it. All right, so the real, god damn it. Okay, so on the rear of the, god damn, I want to call it a Buick now. It's a Cadillac. Here we go.
Just kind of neat how the Cadillacs seem to have a real distinct smell. All the Cadillacs smell the same.
3, 2, 1, here we go.
I'm kind of currently in the middle of doing the 12-volt conversion for this 1950 Cadillac. We need to do a 12-volt conversion because all of the air suspension parts that we're going to put on the vehicle are 12 volts, so the easiest way is to convert the car. So I finished up doing the gauge conversion. Has a resistor box. It's American Vintage Parts. Sells this kit, comes complete with everything you need from the alternator to all the stuff. So just trying to keep it looking as factory as possible. So we ran our wires through here in the cloth and can still see the tested okay from October 10th, 1950. So we're getting through it, and that'll get us going.
Yeah, picked up this 1990 Chevy ZK1500 350 Sport. So this is a pretty cool model they had early on, along with the 454 SS. Really the same trim level interior wise. Got a low back bucket and a center console. We've got power amenities and the equalizer stereo. Just a smaller motor, and but still had the 454 SS wheels. Did not come with this very sweet cowl induction hood we have, but lots of decals on it, kind of letting you know what the model is. And this example is just like uber clean. I haven't seen a gray one before, but I've seen lots of blue and red or blue and maroon interiors. I feel like we got lucky and got the blue interior this time. Maybe we can see if we can make it do a burnout.
Yeah.
I don't know if it will.
So yesterday I completed the floorboards, got them all welded in, got all the welds ground down, things smoothed out. So now I got the floor solid. Started working on the shifter. Took the original shifter out of the Tremec 6-speed and went to this S1 sequential shifter. It's gonna be kind of a really nice addition to this build. And now working on exactly where to put the Nameless Handbrake and just get everything figured out so I can fill up the rest of the holes on the transmission hump, make sure everything fits good, and kind of start finalizing a lot of the plumbing and everything on this thing finally. So this S1 sequential shifter is going to be really nice for if he decides to do any kind of autocross or anything like that, and just for driving. It's a lot of fun. No H pattern anymore, so with this setup you've got a reverse and forward gear selector. So forward is going to be to select a reverse gear, up and back is going to be for your first gear through 6th gear. When it's in this position, to get it into first gear, pull it back, you're in first gear. When you go to your next gear, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and then you're just going to downshift it to neutral when you're finished. Reverse, move the lever forward, just like you're going to first gear, you're in reverse. You just got to remember that you're in, you got to remember which position that small handle's in, so you don't try to do a burnout and go flying backwards, run somebody over, something interesting like that.
Alright, so I was pretty excited when Danny wanted to get some striping and leafing done on his car, because we were able to call in a good friend of mine, Ron Hernandez, who I feel personally is the best pinstriper in the state of Arizona, maybe further than that. We called him in to do some variegated leaf and some striping. I've known him about 20 years, great guy. He's big in the lowrider scene as well as the hot rods, and has some awesome rides of his own. So he's a great dude, and we really enjoyed having him here to do the striping on this 64 Impala. Ron's probably been doing that for 40 years plus. I've known him for 20, and he was already pretty big in it by that time. So yeah, he's definitely OG in the striping world. So a few components of the Vintage Auto Garage conversion. You have the PowerMaster alternator. Our customer wanted the chrome one. They do have it. It looks vintage, but this keeps the size and everything to go right in the generator spot. Underneath the car, where we can't see at the moment, you'll find the new starter solenoid. Goes right on, same shape and everything, just a 12-volt version. We have a resistor for the factory heater motor, which allows our 12 volts to be stepped down to 6 for this. Same as with a 12-volt horn relay. And then inside the car, under the dash, where we really can't see, there's an actual conversion box there that steps down the 12 volts to 6 volt for those gauges, so you can remain all your factory components.
So we're moving along on the Caddy that we're building. Got the tank all mounted. Customer originally wanted all of the air ride hidden as much as possible. We wanted to keep the factory look, don't want to see air tanks, all that stuff. So we went with the CVT because it's a tight, small package. We were going to put it under the car so you couldn't see it, but when we started looking around, there just wasn't a lot of room. It would hang below the frame, possibly get damaged from the road. So we ended up finding this area right here in the front of the trunk that's just below where the convertible top comes in. We've got the top closed. We made sure there's room, nothing's going to interfere. So, and with the black tank, it will kind of hide with that curtain right there, and should look good. Like I said, everything's going to be kind of tucked and tidy, so you don't see a whole lot, and should work pretty good. Customer should be pretty happy with it.
Yay, it fits. If it fits, it ships, right? So now that I've got the floor in the truck, I'm going to continue with the brake system. I'm going to take this tilt and brake reservoir, and I'm going to set it back into the Firewall a little bit just to keep it kind of out of the way and make it look a little nicer. So I've already cut the relief in the Firewall. Gonna get it mounted, so now just building the boxing plates. I'll put this up in here for it to mount to, because it bolts in at the bottom, and then I'll box this in real nice, curve these edges, and try to make it look like a professional built it.
What's up, guys? Tom over here, Switch Suspension again. We're here to talk to you about the AccuAir CVT tank. It is actually what we're putting in the 50 Cadillac out back that you guys are going to see a lot about in this issue. Let's open it up and check it out, man. Coolest thing about AccuAir, man, is what I really like is once you open the box, you kind of see the quality in the product, just in how it's packaged, just how they, want to make sure that everything shows up to you in one piece, and obviously they take pride in the fact that, they sell a quality product and they want it to look that way when you open up the box. Instantly, you see the foam padding in here, comes with the instructions. Nice thing about this is these CVT tanks is they actually give you the diagram on all your center lines, basically how you can mount up the tank. just so that it all sits exactly where you need to. You use the template first and then bolt it down after you're all finished up. Good thing you're not there. You put me on the spot right now. So this is basically all the wiring that you've got in here. All weatherproof plugs, solid connections. There's all your power wire here. Follow the instructions, you'll get it installed right. Yeah, AccuAir has really changed the game with these tanks. I mean, the best thing about this particular tank is that this is it. This is your entire platform. You've got your compressor, your valve, and your tank all in one unit. Coolest thing about this tank is it has that compressor inside of it, so it is super quiet out there. A lot of these cars that we build have exhausts that are pretty loud, so I mean, a lot of the times we have to dip over the back seat just to kind of hear make sure that this thing's running when it's actually on. You'll never have to worry about that whine that you get from the compressors that are obviously exterior to the setup. Like I said, the packaging is really good. They want to make sure that obviously it shows up in the condition that it left the shop in. Also, when these things are all sealed up the way that you see them here, these are all tested, so they actually do that in-house before they leave out, just to make sure that everything's working before it leaves the warehouse. They include a remote mount filter for your intake for the compressor. This has actually got a little filter on the inside so that it doesn't get any of the dirt and debris from the outside into the tank itself. It does have a desiccant filter inside the tank. It blows off all the excess moisture that you would have in there, because I know that a lot of people actually are concerned about the moisture that you get inside the tank. It takes care of all that for you. All the valves that are inside this tank are pre-filtered. So intake and exhaust in and out of the valves is all filtered, so you don't have to worry about that getting into the system. Really, it's a real solid system that just works, man. Cool thing about the new valve technology with AccuAir is these actually have speed controllers. And what these things allow you to do is actually run these needles in and out to help control the airflow in the system. The cool thing about these speed controllers is they allow you to utilize the air volume inside the compressor and tank efficiently. So because the front of the vehicle is heavier, what you need is the air volume inside the tank to lift that. So what you're gonna do is basically choke off all the airflow that's going to the rear. You fire all of it open to the front so that you can lift the front evenly with the rear. And because the front's gonna be heavier than the rear on your descent, it's gonna allow you to actually choke off the airflow to the front and open up all the airflow to the rear so that it'll lower evenly as well. It also allows the E-level to work even more seamlessly when you have these tanks installed in the car. As you can see by the packaging, the delivered product, obviously all the ins and outs of the tank itself, AccuAir makes a quality product. That's why we like using it here at Switch Suspension. This tank is actually finished in AccuAir's black Cerakote finish. Cerakote's actually the same thing that they use on pistols to keep them strong, make sure it doesn't wear off. It isn't going to just wear over time like powder coat can. They offer this in 4 different styles. So you can get this in a black Cerakote, a bronze Cerakote, and a silver Cerakote. They also come raw aluminum, which looks great as well. You saw that on the tank over there. Yeah, man, it's a great product. You certainly won't be disappointed with any of the quality that you get. You can always call us here at Switch Suspension, 800-928-1984, or www.switchsuspension.com.
So in the rear of the Caddy, there's not a whole lot of bolt-on options for these cars. We basically have to fabricate everything from scratch. And on these link bars, basically I just took some DOM tubing, used the front leaf spring mount as a mounting location, and then fabricated the bar to the length that I needed, squared off the end so that it could bolt to the axle. And we made up these adjustable bushing ends so that we can adjust, you know, the axle placement, fine tune it, get it all exactly where we want it. So yeah, that's just the thing about these old cars. There's just not a lot of bolt-on options, so you got to fabricate it, which I like. I'd rather fabricate something than bolt it on. Alright. Fill this thing out there and decrease it. Roll it a little bit. Whoa. just proved to be kind of difficult. So the rear on this, god damn it. All right, so the real, god damn it. Okay, so on the rear of the, god damn, I want to call it a Buick now. It's a Cadillac. Here we go. All right, so on the rear of the Caddy, we're going to be doing a 2-link setup. And these are the link bars that I fabbed up yesterday. I got an adjustable joint on the end, and then the square part, it's going to hook to the rear end just like a leaf spring would with the U-bolts and everything. So that will hold it on that end, and then we'll have a panhard bar or stiffening bar that runs across diagonally. Bag over the axle, pretty common setup. Get this thing down, riding good. So just going to go ahead and start mocking up this rear end, figure out bag placement, and go from there.
So now I've got the transmission hump put back together. Had to redesign the top of it. Obviously had to cut out a different shaped hole for the sequential shifter and its boot, and did a few more little modifications. Had to make this little side pod to mount the handbrake on, and so that it has a nice sturdy surface to mount to, and gives me room to run my brake lines and everything that are going to have to come up here to feed it. And it should be pretty nice. Gives you good reach for both handles, gets them where they're at different heights and away from each other so you don't grab the wrong handle by accident. On the brake lines, they're going to bulkhead through the floor, feed up into here and into here. And basically the way this handbrake works is it is just in line with the rear brakes. So the rear brakes, when you push the brake pedal, is going to pass through this, and then when you pull the handle, it'll override the pedal and just do the back brakes. So be good for drifting, you know, whatever you want to do. If the passenger wants to grab onto it and scare the shit out of the driver, it'll be a fun day. So I think it should be kind of a fun truck to drive.
Yeah, check out these mounts. These are for the rear of the Caddy that we're working on. There's nothing really like specific for this car, so everything we kind of had to custom make for it. These are the rear bag brackets that I came up with, trying to utilize the stock cross member that's there and then just go off the axle. But yeah, it's just your common like behind the axle bag bracket. I kind of needed some specific measurements, so I just whipped up my own on the plasma table there real quick. And then added our little logo to the stiffening bracket. You know, that'll go into there, stiffen it, tie it all up together so that it can't flex or bend. But yeah, just kind of a one-off piece for this car. That's what's nice about having this plasma table is whenever we need a bracket, just draw it up, cut it out, and we have it. So yeah, these will just go up in here, wrap around the axle, key into that cross member. This is our mock-up bag. It basically simulates the height of a bag that's fully compressed, and we built off of that. So looks like it's going to clear and get to your bolts, room for a fitting, get it all fully welded up and welded to the car, and should be back on the road pretty soon.
Somebody, won't name any names, Robby, got a little overzealous when cutting out the firewall, so now I got to remake this pinch weld that didn't need to be cut out and make it look like it never got cut out. You know, like I said, not going to name any names, Robby, but you, his initials are Robby V.
And these are the bag mounts that you saw me putting together over there on the table earlier. Like I said, just all from scratch. Some 7-inch slam bags. We utilized the stock cross member up here, so I made that piece that just kind of keyed into the cross member. Plenty of clearance for the fitting and get to the bolts. So I think it turned out pretty cool. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. Looks good, functions good. Plus the car lays out hard, so real happy with it. Footage I have. Yeah. Are you getting that? These are just the front shock tabs that I made to make them keyway or key into the lower control arm a little bit. They'll essentially just be little shock tabs come off the lower control arm, and then we'll have to make an upper mount too. Everything on this car we've had to make, so it's all from scratch, nothing really bolt on, so it's kind of cool. Get to use the plasma table a lot, get to use the welder a lot, get to fabricate. That's kind of what I like to do. The bolt on stuff can kind of get a little boring, so. Yeah, I've saved everything I've drawn up so that the next 1950 Cadillac comes through is ready to go, but it'll probably be a while before that happens. Some of this stuff might be universal that we could use on other stuff or tweak for other jobs, but yeah, a lot of it's been pretty specific to this car. I'm gonna get this cleaned up, tacked on, and check the clearances and build the upper mount, and then get it on the road real soon. It'd be tough to get the shock to clear. Trying to clear the steering. It's tight, but it doesn't touch. These are just some front shock mounts I fabbed up for the Cadillac. Kind of a one-off piece. Clearance the hole here for the inner fender bolt, you know, and this side's got a steering gear bolt that passes through it. So just made these up real quick, gonna get them on, and then as you can see, there's not a whole lot of room for a shock on this car back here. I got the steering that I gotta clear. You know, I got to make sure it has full travel. So there's a lot of variables that I got to take into consideration. So I've just been kind of figuring stuff up, cycling the suspension, cycling the steering, making sure it all clears. But right now I think we got a good setup, so I'm going to run with it and get this thing on the road soon.
So it's kind of neat how these cars seem to all have a distinct old car smell, regardless of the shape of the car and everything. It's just always got that, like I said, I don't know if it's the leather or something else used. My brother and I have a 68 Chevelle that's all original, and it's even through doing some interior change, it's still got that smell that just reminds me of riding in it when I was a kid, you know. So it's just kind of neat how the Cadillacs seem to have a real distinct smell. All the Cadillacs smell the same.